Bienvenue à tous. Welcome to Reporters. I'll look at the very best of France 24 from around the world. In this edition, we take you to the UK. Still reeling from the biggest strike in some 4 decades, we take the temperature of a city that reflects how the crisis is biting hard. The Cameron government says it has no alternative but to cut, and cut again to get the public sector deficit into order. Schools, hospitals, local services were all widely disrupted as angry workers took to the streets, their pensions and retirement under threat. Well, our team's been to Newcastle in the northeast of England, a city with a history of fighting back with an irrepressible spirit, but a city where recession, traditionally, bites hardest.
Saturday afternoon in this Newcastle house share, and James and his friends are slowly recovering after a big night out.
Yeah, no, it was good last night. I don't know how some people survived it.
The party went well, but these young people are hitting the town less and less. They're saving as the economy stalls and austerity measures bite.
And when I first started smoking, man, you could get like a pack of 20 fags for under, it was like $4.50, and that was Marlboro as well, and now like a pack of Marlboro costs you like £7.70 or something.
22-year-old James is a unionised IT worker with the local authority. He says the cuts have hit his salary and working conditions and undermined job security.
It's not like what people have been telling me about 30, 40 years ago, where if you got a job in the public sector, you had a job for life and all this. Now that's out the window. I've had to apply for, I'm applying for my own job again, which is ridiculous.
Well, I've got 57 on that.
Across town, nurse and union activist Maddie rallies the troops. On board this bus trip to York, hospital colleagues, all of them members of the UK's biggest public sector union. The nationwide strike's just days away.
I know it's very difficult for people that are low paid to lose a day's pay. No one should be intimidated by their managers to going in. We've arranged it all, and if there's any problems, people should come and speak to me.
Vital staff will be working on strike day, but Maddie's determined that as many workers as possible join the walkout.
But there will be representatives at least from all departments, and some departments will be, all workers will be out.
In South Shields, on the mouth of the Tyne River, an employment agency. And an as-yet unsuccessful job hunt for Derek.
Offer things that it's nowhere in my region, like sort of nursing, restaurant manager, fish fryer, I kind of cook. It's just hoping and pray you get a job, or you get that little chance to get a job, and it's hard. It is hard.
Nearly 1 million people live in Tyneside. The conurbation's wealth was founded on mining and shipbuilding, industries long since gone. Investment in commerce and culture have reinvigorated the area, but unemployment remains high. 1 in 3 workers here have public sector jobs, leaving the economy vulnerable in times of austerity. Monday afternoon, and James is feeling fresher. He takes us to a neighbourhood famous for its hedonistic nightlife.
Mainly we get a lot of people from down south and other places come down here to the big market, where a lot of the trendier bars are and stuff. But recently, it's just been really quiet. I think a lot of people are just frightened to spend money, especially on things like nights out and stuff, when, really, you need your money for your bills and things.
With Tyneside feeling poorer, Newcastle's normally heaving hostelries are emptying out, and in some cases, closing down.
Hello.
Hi there. Carla Johnson has just said to us about we could call here to get some union membership.
Yes. Well, I'll give you a handful.
A last-minute rush to join the union.
You can.
On the eve of the strike, Maddie leads final preparations in this branch in Gateshead. Protest slogans have been emailed out.
Hands off our pensions. A decent pension is a right. Decent pensions for all.
Yeah, I'm terrible at writing.
Dave fills out the placards for the demo. He feels the union's winning the battle for hearts and minds.
These will be put outside most of the 3 hospital sites, for maybe the public to see, gain support from the public, which, as I say, is gathering a lot of momentum anyway.
Now approaching the end of her career, Maddie says she's witnessed a steady decline in working conditions in her 3 decades in the NHS. For her, the government's pension plans are the final straw.
People are just very worn down with what's happening to the NHS. Successive governments since Thatcher have brought in more and more privatisation. People are really worried about the future of the NHS, about what we're going to leave to our children.
Derek was oblivious to the planned protest. For him, it's another day spent at home in South Shields with his budgie, Joey.
She's a funny bird. She swears. She never shuts up. She's like a woman, really. She never shuts up. We used to have a dog now, but he went. But I wouldn't get another dog when I've got her, so the budgie's first. She's my baby.
Derek's 39 and lives on benefits. He's been unemployed since 2004.
This is my oldest son, Corey. That's my wife. This is me.
His wife left him as he battled alcoholism.
And that's why I was split up, because I was like heavy through the drink. But gradually it's right down. I'd say a couple of cans a night, that's all.
Derek says he's now rebuilding his marriage. The former shipyard worker says with the region's traditional industries gone, many people here spend their days drinking.
That's why it is, I think, the boredom. Where you drink, it's, you know, bothered because you sit where loads of mates who's drinking and that and thinking, nah, wait, let them go to work. But it's not the case for me. I want to work, but there's nothing wrong with North East for fishing, dockyards, anything like that. There's nothing.
Derek takes us to meet his friend Warnie. Also on the dole, he does voluntary work at a union-funded centre fighting unemployment.
I'm just going to say about life how it is at the bottom end.
Which is hard. Really hard.
A former left-wing activist, Warnie's lost none of his political verve.
It costs more to treat people badly than it does to treat them decently. That's my little rant.
High five, Warnie.
Next stop, downtown South Shields, where Derek points out a local watering hole. With weather conditions deteriorating, it's time to take refuge. A pint in the pub, a rare luxury.
Unemployment.
The conversation turns to jobs in the area, many of which are paid cash in hand.
If you want a legitimate job, you're not going to get one.
It's like the sign outside there, bar staff wanted, apply within. But if you haven't got the face for it, then I'll take you on. You've got to be super handsome or a super blonde, skinny thing.
Get yourself straight in there, Ron.
I wouldn't do it, I wouldn't do it.
With prices rising, Derek and Warnie say making ends meet is getting harder.
£64 a week. And spend, like, in this weather, I can spend like, easy £15 a week on gas.
I get £107 a fortnight. Guaranteed it's gone.
Like if you're a pensioner, they'll give you cold weather payments to help towards your heating. If you've got children under 5, they'll give you extra help in the winter for heating costs. But if it's like a single or separated unemployed person, you
get nothing.
Not
a penny.
Newcastle University's campus is a far cry from the Voyager, but job prospects are a worry here too. Aggie decided to continue studying after completing her first degree, but only after filling out over 60 job applications, not one of which yielded a contract.
I was pretty annoyed. I thought that maybe being in university would give me access to better jobs, or jobs that were at least suited to my degree.
Outside, Aggie meets friend Alex. In the final year of his undergraduate course, he's nervous about what comes next.
Have you? It is quite daunting because you do hear these sort of stories about 200 people applying for one job and, you know, nobody getting jobs that they're after.
Students too are gearing up for the November the 30th protests, but Aggie and Alex feel they're not the ones with the greatest cause for complaint.
Public sector workers have had a really bad time with layoffs and pay reductions. The increased cost of living, coupled with decreases in their pay or even the threat of being fired.
All concerns for primary school teacher Ian, but pension reform's the reason he's going on strike. At 34, he's worried his working life is about to get longer.
So we're talking 68 for young teachers, and it could be more by the time, of course, they actually did retire. Who knows what other changes might come in the 50-odd years afterwards. Right, come and sit down, everybody.
With his wife also in work, Ian's not too worried about the family finances, but he's angry at the prospect of paying more into his pension scheme each month, only to take less out at the end of his career.
We're very proud of our pension scheme. It's certainly not one that is gold-plated like the government would like us to believe, or like other members of the public to believe. It's very much a fair pension, and we feel that if that is done away with, because the reforms certainly don't seem fair, then that's worth striking for, that's worth fighting for.
Strike day, and thousands of marchers hit Tyneside streets in protest at the government's pension plans. For Maddie, it's a moment to savour.
Who's NHS? It's given us the chance for all our members to say how they feel, and then they're not going to put up with these attacks on our terms and conditions and on public services anymore. I would think we'll be doing it again fairly soon.
The government dismisses the walkout as a damp squib, saying the strikers can look forward to better pensions than most private sector workers. It's a position shared by many in business. Jonathan Walker works for the North East Chamber of Commerce. He says bosses are unfazed by the strike, for now at least.
There are concerns that if this carries on, we may see a bigger impact in the future.
With unions threatening further action, champions of the private sector are urging the government to push on with austerity measures.
We recognise the need to cut the deficit. We see what happens on the international markets and the dangers that are posed to other European countries.
But as politicians try to balance the books, everyday lives are changing. For James, it's a simple but irritating equation. As life in the office gets harder, the records he unwinds to after work are becoming less affordable.
Yeah, mainly just because of the cuts and everything. Just don't have as much money anymore.
How many records do you buy a month before?
Probably about 15, 20 from different sources, and now I'll be lucky if I get 2 or 3 out. Oh, is all right?
With funds short, this LP will have to wait till payday.
Would you be able to keep that for us till Wednesday?
On the banks of the Tyne, Derek takes us to the place he first worked. The job was easy to obtain, but doesn't exist anymore.
16 and a half when I first left school, 2 qualifications, and this place behind us is the first shipyard I've ever worked in my life. There's nothing there now, it's just going to be houses, I think.
Derek would like to see the industries of the past return to the region, however unlikely that may be.
Bring it back up to what it used to be years ago, and you can create more jobs that other people from other places can come up here and do. It's all going to waste. It's all going to waste.
Our reporter Chris Moore is here in the studio. Chris, it's very clear from your film why you went to Newcastle. Tell us more about the people you met and about how they feel.
Well, it means different things to different people, of course, the economic climate. If you're in the public sector, the pensions issue aside, they've been complaining about cuts in their jobs since the financial crisis. It can mean worse salary packages or just simple things like the atmosphere at work. We saw from our man James there in competition with his own colleagues over positions in that sector. Not great for the atmosphere at work. In the private sector, of course, a time of economic stagnation, fewer jobs being created, and if you're long-term employed, that makes your already fairly bleak prospects even worse. Should say, of course, that everything is relative. This is a crisis, if you like, in a relatively rich country. It's really about lowered expectations, I think. Students, for example, not being able to get jobs, or at least the jobs they wanted when they came out of university. Opportunities not as good as they were 5 or so years ago. In terms of the general mood, you know, back in the Blair years, the economic boom, I think people were prepared to tolerate a certain level of inequality as long as they were getting a slice of the pie. The mood's a lot more sour now, and there's a real feeling of resentment towards the rich, and particularly the bankers, who people blame for causing the financial crisis in the first place.
You mentioned Blair, of course, an MP in the north-east of England, not far from Newcastle. Newcastle, a city with a big history of social action and indeed strike action going back many, many generations.
The Jarrow March, etc. Yeah.
Why did so many people go on strike on this particular day, November the 30th?
Well, this time round, the unions called this particular strike very specifically on the issue of pensions. Their argument is that public sector workers are going to be paying more into their schemes each month, leaving them out of pocket, potentially retiring later and potentially taking less out of the system at the end. But talking to a lot of those public sector workers, it's really about a lot more than that. It's what they see really as a sustained attack on public services by successive governments, Thatcher, Blair, right up to the present day. And that's particularly the case, I think, in the NHS. You know, it's supposed to be the jewel in the crown of Britain's welfare state, free healthcare for all, a kind of unattackable ideology. And a lot of those workers feel that's something that's come under threat over the past few decades.
In terms of what happens next, the unions have said more strike action will happen. Where does public opinion in the UK stand?
Well, it's very difficult to locate public opinion, of course, Mark. We heard a lot of people speaking out in support of the strikes in Newcastle, whether they worked in the public sector or not. Some people, of course, however, do buy into the government argument that, look, we don't have the choice. The country's in deficit. We have to make some difficult economic choices. These cuts are necessary. That argument's been extended, really, into saying that the strikers aren't the worst off members of society. There are people in the private sector who have much worse pension provision. I think in the end, it's probably going to come back down to what I was talking about earlier, this sentiment that it was the big guys, if you like, the rich people, the bankers, that caused the economic crisis. And in the end, it's the people on less well-paid jobs who are picking up the bill. And there's an issue of fairness there, which I think the unions can really play on.
Chris Moore, thank you very much indeed. Thank you, too, for watching as well. If you want to, you can see our programme again, of course, via our website, france24.com. This is Reporters. You're watching France 24. Stay with us.